Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is finally here. So this is a prequel to the original 1982 film The Dark Crystal, created by Jim Henson and co-directed by Frank Oz. And so many years later, Jim Henson's daughter Lisa Henson, along with her production company and Netflix, have finally brought us back to the world of Thra, and I'm so happy that they did. So within this review, I'm not going to be giving away too many details because I definitely want you to experience and enjoy this yourself. So what we have here is season 1 with 10 episodes, and each episode is about an hour, so you're basically getting a 10-hour long Dark Crystal movie, which is awesome. And so the story actually takes place many years before the original Dark Crystal, and we focus on 7 different Gelfling clans. We have the Dark Crystal, which is basically the life force of this world called Thra, and we have the evil Skeksis who are using the Dark Crystal to gather essence or life force so that they could live a life of immortality. And within this Gelfling clan, we follow 3 main characters, Rianne, Bria, and Deet, and we follow them on their journey where they're learning more about this Skeksis and what their real intentions are, how the Dark Crystal plays in that, and in a much bigger picture, we're learning more about the Gelflings themselves, how they live, their different cultures, and also the many, I would say, disagreements that they have and how their role plays in the whole world of Thra. And so that is the general story of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Now, getting to the things that I liked and I would say absolutely love about this entire series is first and foremost the production quality. It is absolutely stunning, beautiful, breathtaking. There are so many words that I can use to describe this. And the very first thing that I would say is just absolutely incredible is the puppeteering. This is absolutely the best and probably the biggest puppeteering effort that I have seen. And it really shows that this art form, which has been around for thousands of years, way before movies came into place, this is a way to tell a story that feels so, I would say, natural. Even though they're using puppets, it's so basic and organic, but at the same time, it is extremely complex. And I have to give my hats off to everybody involved in this whole puppeteering because there is no humans in this. And so they are the actors and actresses before you actually get any voice in there. And then the other aspects of the production, the set design, the costume and creature design, lovingly done by the originals, Brian Froud and Wendy Froud and their son Toby Froud, the actual art direction, which looks like beautiful paintings every single scene, the really enchanting musical score. I could just go on and on. And the fact that they use practical effects, real world physical objects, I love that. Because even though we use so much CG nowadays and it's really advancing, to me, it really cannot compare against real practical effects, real physical objects. Because if you go back to older movies, say like 2001 A Space Odyssey, created in the late 60s, or the original Star Wars in the late 70s, or the original Dark Crystal, or Labyrinth, Never Ending Story, Legend, those movies have aged real well because they're using real physical objects, real practical effects. And so if you look at a lot of CG movies nowadays, they don't age real well, and they always have this really weird CG look, and it just takes you out of it. Whereas here in the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, the practical effects, the physical elements, the puppeteering are really what bring you into this world. And then when they add CG in there, it's really something that you don't notice, and that's the best type of effects. And as a matter of fact, the majority of the movie was all puppeteering and physical effects, and where they used CG was green screen to remove the puppeteer. So that's where the majority of the effects were used. But in this case, the CG was lovingly used to enhance the overall movie and world that we live in. So that is the first and biggest thing, is the entire production quality, the puppeteering. So getting to the second thing that I love about this is the incredible cast of voice actors. There are some huge names in this series. You have Taron Egerton, Mark Hamill, Simon Pegg, Sigourney Weaver's in here, Helena Bonham Carter, Lena Headey. The list goes on. And then some of the main actors and actresses like Anya Taylor, Nathalie Emmanuel, Donna Kimball. The voice acting from everybody is absolutely top notch. And that combined with the puppeteering really gets you into these characters where you don't notice the voice acting anymore. You don't notice the puppeteering, and I mean that in a good way. You just see these characters as real things, real people, real creatures. And that's what's so magical about it. And whenever it gets to scenes where things are very emotional, you could feel it, and that is something that's very hard to capture in CG or in practical elements. You need all of these things to work together, and the voice acting definitely helps elevate this to another level. And then the other thing that I absolutely love about this series is the stories and how they really told a story that is really adult. And what I mean by that is, in the original Dark Crystal, this really wasn't something meant for really young kids. It was meant for, I would say, adult kids. Let's just say that. And they have a lot of dark themes in here. And within the series, it's the same thing, but they take it out to even further things. So there's a lot of complex things in here that kids would probably not understand. They deal with a lot of things like different cultures, races, death, politics, family values, and the whole world in itself and what that means. There is a lot of different themes and ideas here, and I think for a lot of younger people, they might not get that. But the thing is, very similar to the original Dark Crystal, as the kids get older, as I did as well, you really learn to appreciate all the very complex themes and stories that this entire world and the characters are really focused on. And that's what's amazing about that, because you can appreciate this many, many years later for different reasons than you did when you were a kid. And so that in itself is a pretty amazing achievement. And whenever I look back to the original Dark Crystal, I have different ideas from it as well. And so I really feel that this series will do the same thing, and probably at a much bigger level. And then the final thing that I loved about this is just the whole world and the characters themselves. And I'm not just focused on the Gelflings and the Skeksis, but all the other characters, the little creatures like the Fizzgigs, or the land striders, or these crab-like, spider-like creatures, the plants. They're all their own different characters. And Agra, oh man, I love Agra in this. She had a lot more screen time. So everything in this world, even when they're inanimate objects, they are their own character as well, even when they're not saying anything. And that just goes back into how you really are enveloped in this world completely. And with every single episode, with every single scene, I just felt myself wanting more, wanting to stay in this fantasy world of magic and mysticism. All of those characters, I love them. And then whenever there were things that happened that, like a loss, or a death with one of these characters, you will shed a tear. It's that emotional, at least for me. And there's so many moments of humor in here, especially with the Poglings and Hup. It just brings a smile to your face so many times. There's a lot of areas where it's just very whimsical. And so those are the main things that I really loved about this series. And there's so many things that I could talk about, but you have 10 hours to discover that for yourself and to enjoy it. Now, in terms of the things that I didn't like, to be honest with you, I'm really biased. There's nothing personally for me that I did not like about this series. I enjoyed every single moment. But if I had to be objective about it, maybe people might be thrown off by, I guess, the darkness of it. If you are a younger child, then this will probably scare those kids. Okay, very much like the original Dark Crystal. So there's very serious things going on. There's a lot of deaths of characters. And so that might be a little too much for some younger kids. And then maybe at the beginning of the series, it is a little bit slower, but that's done on purpose to really build these characters, build this world, and also maybe how things might or might not end up. And this was done on purpose because I really wanted to see more, but we're going to have to wait for future seasons. And so that's about the only nitpicky negative things that I could say about it from an objective level. But for me personally, I just found this entire series just flawless, at least for me. This is one of my favorite series, movies or shows that I've ever seen. The effects to me, and I never thought I'd say this, is better than Lord of the Rings. It is that good, where the effects are so good you don't notice it anymore. And I think that's the mark of extremely high craftsmanship and the ability for the story, characters, and everything else to really pull you into this world and make it live and breathing. And so that is my review of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. This entire series, I highly recommend that you watch this. Even if you've never seen the original Dark Crystal, which might be a good thing for some people, go check this out. And then after you see this, I would like to know some of your thoughts. So leave those in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators Group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators Group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.